you have to be committed. You have to want something bad enough that you're willing to walk through walls to get toward it. And when you enter that untouchable mindset, that I always say that you have this untouchable mindset at that point, nothing can stop you. It doesn't matter what happens. Nothing can get in your way if you want it bad enough.
It takes energy. It takes courage. It takes commitment. A hunger to live life at another level. A life of true fulfillment. Welcome to the Extraordinary Living Podcast, where Jackie Senatori interviews leading experts from around the world, extracting their wisdom, giving you the tools, tips, and tricks on how to go from ordinary to extraordinary. Get ready to start living a healthier and more empowered life. Here she is, your host, Jackie Senatori.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. Today's guest is actor, film producer, model, and fitness guru, Chris Connell. Chris has been featured in movies, TV shows, commercials, and music videos. Chris writes, produces, and has a love for all things health and fitness, as he was a personal trainer running a 6-figure business and nutrition program for over 10 years. Why I wanted Chris on the show today is because he is someone that truly lives his life by design. He is someone that knows how to push through the barriers of fear, take action, and accomplish his goals. In this episode, he will share with you how important it is to not let fear stop you from living the life you know you were meant to live, one that has energy and passion, and he talks about how to be courageous and resilient no matter what wave life throws at you. I hope you get as much from this episode as I did talking to him. He is one of my go-to people for whenever I feel uncertain or sort of held back from fear. So here he is. Let's get started. Hey, Chris, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Thanks so much
for having me. We were just talking about how old of friends we are.
I know.
We were our age before the show started. We were talking about how long we've known each other. What did you say it was? It was like 17. Did you say 17 years?
It's 17 years. So right before this, we were catching up for a few minutes and we realized, how long have we known each other? And we did some math and it's 17 years. It's kind of scary once you hear that. That's
one of those things where you know you're becoming an older person. When you can say statistics like that, when you're like, you have a friend, they're like, oh, we've known each other for 25 years. I'm like, what? Am I that old? Yeah, you're that old. What? No, it's crazy. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me on. This is super cool. What you're doing, I love it. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much for being here. I wanted to have you on because you're one of those friends, but people that I go to if I ever have any kind of like doubt, when you ever hit those little like fear blocks, or for me, it's uncertainty. I just have to call you. And within 5 minutes, it's like, that's not going to happen. It's all going to work out. And here's why. You're like the easy fix. Even like your Instagram and Facebook, for people who don't know you and get to know you personally, even when you go on like your Instagram, it's full of things of like pushing through fear, taking action. And you really do what you often say is like live your life by design. So I wanted to invite you on here so you can offer like your tips and just teach people, how do you face fear? How do you live your life by design? And just get a little bit of your skill set, because you've accomplished so many things. You're an actor, model, fitness model, producer. You have a film coming up. You're really big into health. You've trained people. So I want the goods, Chris.
Thank you. Gosh, I feel like Gandhi now, or a mix of Gandhi and Albert Einstein and Martin Scorsese all in one. Thanks for the warm introduction. Yeah, when I was very young, I had this inner monologue or dialogue, right? That I knew I didn't just want to wake up and drive my car to work at 8:30 and get there at 9 and plug in my 9 hours, go home, eat dinner, rewire, do it again, and then thank God it's Friday. Now I can go play golf on Saturday, and then on Sunday it's lawn care and grocery day, and then reset. You know what I'm saying? And I think at a really young age, I just was like, I knew that wasn't going to be an option for me. And I started making very specific, very concrete decisions that I didn't want any part of that. I wanted to live completely off the grid from what other people thought they had, what we've been trained to do for so long. I just knew I had more to offer the world, and I knew that if I fell into that same rigmarole, that people wouldn't get an opportunity to meet what I'm capable of, you know. And I was going to have a real hard time with that. And I knew at a young age I had to do something different. And, you know, I knew I was very expressive. I love communicating. I love things that challenge me. I love travel. I love things that are thought-provoking. I think I just tend to, I'm a person who, when I talk to people, I look right into their eyes. That's probably a really uncomfortable thing, but I think I'm just like, I love being so in tune with specificity and being able to feel people, right, when I communicate. It's just a big deal with me. And one medium that really draws all that together and ties it in this really beautiful bow and does it in a really exciting way is acting. And that was a way that I found an opportunity to express myself in such a big way early on. And then, of course, I knew right away, I was like, this is it. I have to do this. And I knew that to do that, I had to do things very different from everybody that was around me at a very young age. I grew up in North Carolina, you know, so it's kind of like, what are you going to go do? You know, like go work at a bank, you know, like everybody else in North Carolina, or like, yeah, I just couldn't do that. So I knew I had to be different, and to be different, you must be bold and you cannot be afraid. So right away, having the courage to do something that was very different was something that I knew was going to be a real part of my life. And I accepted that early on. And rather than running from that fear of the unknown, I learned very quickly to not only just live with it, but to embrace it. And I think if I started to really summarize some of the greatest lessons that I've learned to this point here, I think I always found myself being very attracted to this idea of embracing fear and just taking it on full force and overcoming it. One of my favorite quotes, as I mentioned, was, everything you want is on the other side of fear.
Right.
And I can't even, like, oh my gosh, imagine if people applied that into their way of thinking at an early age and lived it out. What would we see in this world? What would we see from one another? The potential. It's just this untapped potential in all of us. And sadly, I think a lot of us, whether we want to admit it or not, or even aware of it, I think a lot of us really live in fear, and to one degree or another, right? And so what I tried to do is break the chains off myself and just go full force in the direction of what scares me. Actually, to be perfectly honest, I think when you find something that scares you, you really should run toward it. That means you know you're going in the right direction. It should be scary. You know what? I'm making a movie right now. There's a lot of weight on my shoulders. There's a lot of people on my team. There's a lot of people that depend on me. Am I scared? You better believe it. I am absolutely scared. But I'm also brave. And for that reason, I accept the challenge, and I know that I will succeed. There's no question about that. I've made the decision long ago that I would, and I will.
I have so many questions. One of them, I just want to take it back a little bit. How old were you, or when did you kind of know that you were different when you said that? And when did it come in that you wanted to be an actor? Like, how did your family, you and I met in acting school, for everyone listening. We both moved to New York City. I think you said you were 17. I was 18. We both moved to this school and went to a film school. So when is it that kind of developed, and how did your family take it? What was that kind of journey like?
Yeah, it's a really great question. When I was, I'm going to say 12 years old, maybe 13, all I knew was soccer. I was playing lots of soccer. And I remember having this desire, and my family, who will eventually probably listen to this, is going to laugh when they hear this, but I remember wanting to make movies, right? At like 13 years old. And I had no idea how to do this, by the way. And so I started like picking up my home video camera, like the old, the heavy clunky ones back in our day, at least. And I'd have, my neighbor kid would come and record me, and we'd do this kind of like talk show one day. And then I'd start scripting things out, and I had like some, big Russian gang mafia style gun thing situated. And I'd fall in the pool that we had in the backyard, and there's fake blood in the water now. And I remember just at a young age being like, this is it's like living in a fantasy. And then when you go back and watch it, it doubled down the awesomeness of it. And then by the time I got into, high school, of course, there was school theater, and there was an opportunity for me to finally actually exercise a little bit of that instinct. What was really a game changer for me was the support of my family when I told them. I am very honored to be to have grown up in a house where my mom was just one of those, if you want it, you can have it types of people. She just absolutely inspired me. I'm only here because of her. 100%. There's no question about that. I should be the most average of average, people, honestly. And I swear to God, it's a person like her who at the earliest age reminded me every day of what I was capable of doing. And the minute I said, hey, I want to spend a lot of money to go to a private acting school in New York City, about 1,000 miles away, there wasn't even a hesitation. She's like, I'll drive you to the audition in Atlanta. And it was just that I learned very early on, I was taught that anything you want, you can have. You just got to be willing to work for it. And to have the support of her and the rest of my family and the people around me was a game changer. And I was absolutely blessed to have that.
Yay for moms, right? Even my mom too. It's like both of our moms helped us bring us that, because to do something that bold, to go to the audition for this school, and I don't remember how many people got in, but you had to audition for it and you had to prep for it. And then you had to take that plunge of moving there, saying bye to your family. And we didn't probably feel like kids at that time, but we were kids. We were
17 years old.
Right.
Going to not just the neighboring state. We went to New York City at 17 years old, the largest city in the nation, arguably one of the most competitive locations on earth. And listen, I think we lived in Manhattan, right? We were in the Upper West Side. I mean, we were in the thick of the thick of the thick of it at such a young age. That's scary. Under all circumstances, let alone the fact that we also had to succeed in school and our parents had to be brave enough to drop us in this war zone, right? My God, what percentage of the population is daring enough to even allow that process to happen? But I'll tell you what, mine said yes, and so did yours. And now we're making big things, really exciting things happen in our lives. And we are, to your credit and to mine, living a life by design. We're doing something we're excited to do. This is fantastic.
When you have a dream or you have a vision, and I know you really live by this, when you have a dream or a vision, it just takes certain risks. It takes courage. It takes sacrifice. We moved into, I don't even want to call it a dorm. We moved into this rundown hotel. When you walked in, it said, "Do you like rats?" on the wall. And I say this because I want to bring up this story, that the reason how I met you, or how the school became kind of aware of you, probably 100 of us or so, was because you were the first one to get robbed.
Yeah, in a nice neighborhood, by the way.
Right.
Yeah, it was a great neighborhood.
It was sort of that moment of being like, is this really worth it? Do I want to stay here?
I was held up. Yeah, nothing to have to think of, but hey, look, you're in the, like I said, you're in the war zone there. It's, anything can happen on any day. Hey, you know what? That's part of the journey, and everything. I see these little moments just make me stronger and a little wiser.
So how did you get to be the guy that is so confident, so courageous, so willing to chase your dream and achieve it? You've done so much, and now you went from New York, now living in LA. What do you think helped you develop becoming that guy? Or was there a time in your life or an experience in your life where you really just needed to push through fear, and then you got that wisdom that this is where life is? It's on the other side of fear. Yeah.
Like I said, it's true. It starts when you have the support of people who care about you early on. That confidence is instilled. Let me use a specific example. I think it was my freshman year of high school, the summer before, we had soccer tryouts. I played soccer my whole life. And I remember our tryouts, it was hotter than hell. We were out in this field. We had to run forever. I was just exhausting. Everything was timed. It was a tryout. It wasn't a gimme. I was pretty good at soccer, but I don't know why, but that thing just whooped my ass. And I remember getting back in the car and my mom came to pick me up from it. I was like, I don't even want to play. This isn't worth it to me. This is horrible. If this is what it's going to be, I'm out. And you better believe it. She's like, nope, we're getting back in the car. We're going to go back out there tomorrow. And on day 2 of tryouts, you're going back. She just didn't accept that answer, right? That defeatist answer, if that's a word. And I was like, oh gosh. And anyway, I got back in the car the next day and had another tryout. I made the cut. I made the team. I was like, oh my gosh, I made the team. This is kind of cool. Whatever. I was a left wing. That's a forward striking position. I was the leading scorer all 4 years of playing on that team for that high school. The leading scorer, And here I was the day of the tryouts thinking I couldn't make the tryouts. And then the result was literally to come out as the head scorer every year I ever played. So what's the difference? Well, I'll tell you what it was. It was having that support early on and having somebody who knew what you were capable of remind you. And that is what, it's those moments along the way where I look back now and I'm like, holy smokes, wow. So again, this moment where fear overcame me. I didn't think I was good enough in these tryouts early on.
Right.
But I connected, obviously my mom believed in me. She said, get back out there. And I did. And then I ended up being the leading scorer every year I played. Who would have ever imagined, right?
It all came from mom, this determination.
Basically just moms around the world. I mean, let's just be honest. You guys are the real thoroughbreds here that are showing us how to do it. So, and the lessons that she's learned and the challenges she's faced. She was once also, she was a single parent and had her own obstacles. And I'm sure she learned those lessons, and that never giving up attitude, she just carried that thing right through me. And here we are today. And I'm living the life, as we say, of design that I wrote long ago. And I'm just, thrilled to have taken those lessons with me.
When you talk about living your life by design, what does that mean? Is it like you create a vision? Take us through what does that mean to live your life by design?
Yeah. So it's actually more simple than it sounds. What do you want? Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want? And for people to just be able to say that freely, right? So oftentimes we govern what we're capable of. Again, because we're hidden behind practicality, disguised as fears. It's just so many people. They know what they want, right? I want to be an astronaut. I want to be an actor. I want to be the president. I want, we say these things when we're oftentimes young. We know what we want, right? And then as we get old, we're kind of put in this box and we're pushed down into this place where, well, that's what you wanted, but you really should compromise because let's be honest, that's really hard to do. So you should probably just go ahead and do insurance or something like that because, that's a little bit more attainable. And we box ourselves into these places, society, our parents even, the very people closest to you will be the first to try to spit their practicality on. It's crazy. And so you start to lose sight of what you really want. And I always tell people, be specific with that vision. Really paint the picture. What do you want? Who do you want to be? What do you want to be sharing with the world? What does it look like? Where do you want to live? Get specific, because the only way to hit a target is when you can actually see what the target is. If you don't paint a specific picture of the target, you're not going to hit it. It's like shooting a crossbow blindfolded. You've got to see your target. The more specific you get with that vision, the more likely you are to hit it. So that's important, to be specific. So know what you want.
What do you do when people know what they want? Let's say they do that and they create this vision of what they want. Some people don't know what they want. So that's the first step of seeing what they want.
Most people don't.
And then the second is what happens when you get the vision of what you want? It might be exciting. Might be like, imagine if I could do that. You live right beside the ocean. You're doing all these things and achieving all these things, right? And it's like you can map out and have this pretty vision. But then you have that voice that comes in, even before the outside people come in. It's like that voice that comes in. It's like, yeah, but do you ever have that? Or have you ever had that? Well, this and all those doubt, fears, or do you ever have that come up, or you sort of just squash them?
Everybody worked very closely to my response to this. The answer is hell yes, all the time. Of course. Please don't think that if you experience that you're the weirdo or that you're not worth it or capable or any of those things. Are you kidding me? That is a real part of the process. And this is what I talk about when it comes down to managing expectations, knowing that is part of it. You're going to experience fear. You're human. You're crazy if you don't do things and feel that fear. What I challenge people is to not run from fear or act like it's not there, but to simply embrace it and charge at it, right? Be bold enough. Have fear, but be brave. Does that make sense?
Right.
Make bold choices. Take it on, and you'll find that you will always survive. You'll always overcome it. And at the end of the day, you're going to look back and say, oh, look, what did I even have to lose? So what? Let's say you do fail, and guess what? You will. Many more times than you will succeed sometimes. That's okay. You never lost anything. All I did was gain the experience. I don't know who's got the famous quote, but somebody says, like Thomas Alva Edison, he said it took him like 1,000 times to learn how to make a light bulb. He said, he failed 999 times, and on the 1,000th, every time I failed, I learned something new. I only learned how to fail, but it's those failures that also created the solution, right? So perception's everything. I learn from the bad as much as I do from the good, but you just got to be brave enough to go through and live it out. Take the shot, swing the bat. I always say, swing for a home run. This is all the time we get. You know what I'm saying? Stop trying to play it safe. Stop aiming for a base hit. Get a home run out of the deal, because every now and then you're going to connect with the ball and it will go out of the park. And that's what I'm swinging for. I'm willing to fail. I'm going to fail big, though, if I do. I'm going to go down swinging. You better believe it. But you've got to be willing to accept that is a part of the process. That's natural. If you thought that you weren't going to have those fears or doubts or inner voices telling you that maybe this isn't a good idea, if you think or expect that that's not going to be a part of this, you are setting yourself up for failure. And this is why you need to manage your expectations.
Sometimes I think too, like the more you feel that fear, it's like the more that there's excitement, the more that you want something. If you didn't feel fear over a goal, I just don't think your goal is big enough. I don't think it's daring enough. It's like, find the one that makes you feel fear, and that's the one that excitement's on their side. I have this quote on my fridge that's like, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. It's like, look for those comfort zones.
Same thing. It's all going in the same direction, right? Learn to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations, right? Learn to live in that, embrace it. It's the same thing. We're all speaking the same language here. It's just about embracing fear and rising above it. That's what it is. You've just got to be brave enough to make the decision to do it.
And then sometimes it's like that first action step, stepping outside of fear. The rest kind of unfolds, you might not even know the direction. Like, you started off wanting to be an actor and going into acting, and then the path kept unfolding for you. Now you're creating and making your own movies, and it's like you have to take action for the next step to kind of unfold.
So work creates work, right? It's a snowball effect. Opportunities bring opportunities. It's that first step is the biggest step. You just got to walk through the door, right? Absolutely. The same for you and what you're doing now in this really great medium that you've created for yourself. You knew what you wanted and you took the step, and here it is, and it's great. This is absolutely fantastic. And I just know so much here is going to come from this, even maybe beyond this program. And you're finally getting to show the world what you're capable of. And this is just the vessel that's going to carry you there. It's so cool. It's fascinating. Like to your what you just shared. I started as an actor. I had no aspirations of filmmaking or writing or any of those things. And now here I am in a pre-production for this movie that was just once an idea. And we've got a team of about 25 people now behind me, and we're working with World War II fighter planes, and we're going to go up in the air. It's going to be insane. And it was all just ideas, and we committed ourselves to it. So, again, it's just one action creates more action. And, to that I always say vision is great. Vision's good. We all want a vision, right? I hear that a lot. But it's the action that powers that vision. Vision without action is nothing. It's hot air. There's a lot of vision talk, especially on social media. Sorry, guys, but especially, you always hear people preaching really cool things. I've always been particularly more interested in people's actions. I'm an actions guy. And for me, one of my brand standards is if I say I'm going to do something, I'm doing it at all costs. No matter if it kills me, I'm doing it because I said I would. Because to me, my word is my bond. And with that being said, I follow people.
So it's like you really are the person that if I have a fear or I want to step into it, it's just like, just do it.
Just do the damn thing. Yeah.
Right. When you're making this film and you're in pre-production and you're taking all these steps and something like a fear or doubt or something comes up to challenge it, what's your mindset? Like, what do you do for yourself? What keeps you inspired? What keeps you kind of pushing? Is there a ritual you have, or is there something that like a kind of like a go-to that you do?
There's no trap doors or aces up my sleeve over here.
You're my go-to. So it's just like when I get stuck, it's just like, Chris, what do I do? It's not going to happen. It's all going to be okay.
It's going to work out. You got to be optimistic. Yeah. I just don't accept, no as an option. I don't accept every problem has a solution. Okay. You got to always remind yourself of that. No matter how overwhelming it appears, every problem has a solution.
Right.
So if I know that, and I do, then I always am cool-headed and level-headed. I know things are going to work because I believe in that, right? I believe in that like science or anything. I know it's going to work out, and that's where also having a positive mindset and it's all about your outlook, your attitude, your mindset, and ultimately, I always say your perspective. Your perspective is everything. Right? Even during challenging times, there's always a silver lining. There's always good that comes from it. There's always lessons learned. There's always opportunities that can be found. You've just got to, again, it's going to be what you make it, right? We're in a pandemic right now as we're recording this. It's a very unusual time for a lot of people. And I can either sit here and let the weight of the world collapse on me and crumble into the ground and binge watch Netflix in my bed somewhere. Or I can recognize, hey, wait a minute. So what you're saying is a lot of people are at home looking for something to do who would otherwise be too busy to take on a project. Like, let's just say a World War II movie that you're asking them to be a part of. Oh my gosh, it's actually the perfect time. Holy cow. Okay, great. I got this. I'm going to crush it. And not only that, I'm going to take over the world from there on after. It's just about recognizing the opportunities, and that all comes from the attitude and the perspective of your given situations.
Right.
People who are on top have mastered that. They know how to rise above the challenges, and it's because they know how to shift their perspectives during challenging times.
Or just like every time there is a challenge too, just know that this is an opportunity. Even with every challenge comes opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%.
I think that's even for just things like, a hardship, an illness, a relationship breakup, or it's just shifting. It's like our ability to shift from, if someone goes through like a breakup, just an ability to shift and be like, okay, this is what's happening. How can I make the best of it and shift in a different direction?
Some of the proudest moments of my life came from some of the most challenging things I had to overcome. If it wasn't for those challenges, I wouldn't have been able to experience how powerful I was. And that's the confidence. That's where to get back to what your question was, that's where I get that confidence from. It came from support from a long, early age from people who love me. And now I see it in myself in the way that I overcome these challenges. It's just kind of like everything that comes as a challenge to me, it's kind of like a little badge that you can wear on your chest. It's like another... Does that make sense?
It does. And you're a fitness guy. I mean, anybody goes on your Instagram or anybody checks you out, you're a fitness guy. Like I'm going to compliment you here, have mastered the art form. I've known you for, we've said 17 years. You've always had a really fit, good body. Health has been really important. And it's just like, I guess it's the same thing with your fitness. To build the level of muscle, to have the dedication you must have for that is sort of like tearing it down and you rebuild stronger.
It's a microcosm, right? I always loved here's what I love about working out. I always say it's more mental than it is physical, right? When I work out, yeah, I'm working on my physical body, but for me, it's so mental. It's the ultimate release. It's the ultimate place to just, I play music, I tune the rest of the world out. And for that hour, I'm in the zone. I'm just in my place of execution. The gym was the tangible medium for me to, let's say, sort out some of the things that might have been running through my mind, right? It's the daily thing that I can apply myself to and conquer and do well and overcome the challenges, or the weights in this case, of those situations. It's just the tangible version of that lives within us. So each day is like its own little mini battle or obstacle course, and I apply myself to it. And that's why I love it. I love working out. It's something I can do and win at each day. And it's a microcosm of just that. You set a goal, boom, you overcome it, you reach it, you put in the work, the dedication. And then ultimately the consistency, right? So consistency is a whole other thing, right? To succeed. Let's talk about consistency, because that's one of my favorite words in the world. Something I've really learned at an early age too was, if you ever want to get good at anything, you've got to be willing to be consistent at it. You cannot have a spotty signal that comes in and out. Oh, I'm motivated today. Oh, but for the next 3 days, you're not. You fall out, you cheat, you don't commit, right? You know those friends that it's like, it's just the yo-yo effect. Right. 1 minute they're on, the next minute they're off. They're up, they're here, they're motivated, they're not. Oh, I'm tired today. Oh, I'm going through this. Oh, I'm not in the mood. I don't feel like it. The people who are going to rise to the top are the ones who, no matter what, they're going to stay consistent. They're not going to look for excuses, because if you do that, you're often going to find one as to why you can't do something. Right?
That's great. You get what you look for. You look for an excuse, it'll always be there.
Yeah. What you focus on expands. That's the truth. Yep, absolutely. So with that being said, you've got to be all in. You've got to be willing to put in the work when you're not in the mood to do it. I have workouts sometimes where I get there and I'm like, oh my God, I just want to get out of here. Like, somebody please. But you better believe I am showing up. You better believe I don't let myself fall out. That's just part of it. And just like working out, it's the same is true for anything we apply ourselves to, right? You've just got to be willing to be consistent. Show up. Just show up. When you show up, you've already won. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's true for anything. I'll be honest with you. I've been at this acting thing for 20 years already. It's crazy to even say that out loud. It's coming up on what will probably be 20 years. Let's say it's not all professional, I get that, but I've dedicated to this a decision that I made 20 years ago, and here I am in Los Angeles doing it right here today. I've got a lot going on after even this call. I'm making this film. We've got other projects coming out. I'm 20 years committed into this, and I still feel like I'm just getting started. So you have to be committed. You have to want something bad enough that you're willing to walk through walls to get toward it. And when you enter that untouchable mindset, that I always say that you have this untouchable mindset at that point, nothing can stop you. It doesn't matter what happens. Nothing can get in your way if you want it bad enough. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. It's kind of like one wall comes up, you burn it down. One wall comes up, you burn it down. And also like I remember you mentioned one time, it's like, you don't have a plan B, you just have a plan A. Like, burn the boats. This is going to work. I'm going to make it work.
I don't accept failure for myself. I put that as, I just made the decision. It wasn't like, oh, that would be nice. Oh, that sounds fun. Oh, sure. Well, I have a backup job though. Like, it's fine. Because often if you have a backup, you're going to fall back on. Right? That's the whole idea. Well,
it gives you a way out. And it's not that makes somebody a bad person. They can reorganize from there. It's just, you have to just go where you're focused. If you're focused on the backup plan, it's just even going to make it more muddier. But I mean, you're human. you have to have days where you feel like an excuse comes up, or do you? Are you human, Chris?
The answer is no. I don't ever experience any of what you... No, I'm joking. Of course, I'm human. I have those moments, I guess. Like I said, I think one of the few things I think I've done relatively well for a while is I've managed to weather the storm long enough that I know how to live through a storm. I know how to handle those moments or feelings that might come in. And I think just the fact that I've been doing it for so long, you just kind of build an immunity to it, I
think that's the answer right there. I think the answer is just learning through experience how to handle and weather storms and getting back up, knowing you're going to be stronger and tackle it again. And it sounds like, from me knowing you all this time, that's the answer of like, how are you so consistent? How are you so strong? How are you so bold? And now I'm even learning more from you of just, well, I've learned how to weather those storms. I welcome challenges because I'm confident in myself that I could bust that one down too.
Every wave that's knocked me over, I've stood back up. So guess what? When I see the next wave coming, you better believe I'm ready. Like, let's go. Bring it on. Because I'm still going to be here. I don't stop. You might have even seen me every now and then. I'm silly in my hashtags. I don't hashtag a lot, but I always use this tag. I say, till the end. And I don't think a lot of people know what that means when I'm saying it, but I know what I'm saying to myself in that moment. It just means I'm never giving up. Till the end. That's what I'll be doing. This is what I'll be doing. Till the very last day. And if I fail, I'm going to fail in the biggest way. But I will go down swinging. Same thing.
I don't really know if it's possible to fail when you go after your vision, because I think it's part of, and not to be cheesy here, but I think it's part of like who you become in the pursuit of it is the best part. Sure. It's like sometimes when I reach a goal, I love the goal, but it's the person through the challenge and getting the goal when people are like, how are you this? How are you this way? How did you learn how to do that? It was along this path.
Yeah. Well, you always hear, right? It's about the journey, not the destination, right? I know I'm a prouder person of who I am right now in this day because of this journey that I've chosen. And it wasn't the easy path. It was the tough path. And I knew that early. This wasn't an accident. I was aware of this at a very early age. I knew what I was going to be up against. I accepted that path. I chose it. But it's that path, which might be a little bit more windy, rugged, and ominous. But you better believe when I get to the end of this, I will come out a stronger person. I'm very proud of that fact. So to your credit, you're exactly right. What is failure? Did I fail? The answer is no. Absolutely not.
You've had a lot of successes, though, even in the nutrition world and all kinds of things. It's just, we're here talking about like you're still on this journey to make it. You've already made it. It's just you keep expanding that vision of now it's this, and now it's, making a war movie, and now it's going to the next one.
Yeah. I mean, hey, look, I'm a believer too, is once you've reached the summit of a mountain, you need to go look for the next summit to climb. You should always never be satisfied, never get content. Okay, I finally did this. I'll just go ahead and ease up now. No, I'm just looking for the next summit. And I always aim higher. I apply that in my filmmaking. I always say every project I do, I expect the next one to be better. And that can be applied to any aspect of life. And no matter what you do, just do it well. That's my message to anyone listening to this. It's just be great at whatever it is you choose to do. It doesn't have to be acting. Whatever that inspires you, whatever makes you come alive, you better go in that direction and go big. That's the deal.
What do you do being in the entertainment world? What do you do with being told no or rejection? What do you, for people listening, hearing that, it's like find something that is really exciting, that makes you feel alive, and go after it and get it. I've coached people, and it's like, I know when people go do that, what is the popular fear or a common fear that comes up from them is the fear of not getting it once they actually commit to it. It's like sometimes it's easier, what you said, to talk about it, talk about the vision, but people resist taking action because if I take action and I fail or I'm rejected, then I'll know it was me, rather than if you always talk about vision and never take action, you just don't know.
Right. Because if I don't Right. If I don't try, then I can fail.
Right.
I didn't fail. I didn't try. So it's this safe place that a lot of people put themselves in.
Right.
I mean, who likes failing? Like, I get it. I get it. It's an uncomfortable place, but you've got to be willing to look. You only live once. It's cliche to say, but my God, it's true. What are we all doing here? We just talked about how much time has passed, and so just I don't know. Gosh, time's precious. Don't you want to have something to look back on? Don't you want to know that you made an impact, that you affected change? Don't you just want to be more than I want to live. I don't want to just exist.
And it's really smart that you have that, because I sort of gained that going through a health crisis when I realized, oh my God, you don't really think that something can happen to you until it does. And now it's like you get up every day and you're like, this could be it. Like that could have been it. And I might never have been able to do all the things that you're talking about, like live with that energy, live with chasing that dream. It's like, do it now. Don't wait for something to come in. Yeah. That it's just like, oh crap, I should have done it, or I could have done it and I didn't.
We too often, we take advantage of our health. We take it for granted.
I mean, even our freedom for that matter, like we're all stuck inside right now. Like
absolutely. Yeah. We take things for granted. We don't dare to try to push ourselves into anything. And sometimes you need those scares like what you experienced. And then it's a wake-up call for so many people.
Right. I just think it helps, like now on the other side of it, it just helps bring more to the world. Like our experiences, all those waves that knocked you down, we're going to go into the film you're making. All of those muscle building of who you've become in that is now going to show up in your next project. You couldn't have built this war film or created this war film from 22-year-old Chris. It just wouldn't have the same.
Yeah, no, hey, I'm with you. Absolutely. And for me too, this is just sometimes maybe how I operate. This is my way of fighting back when I set up a challenge and work hard for it and want to achieve. It's just my way of just, showing what I can do. Sometimes that comes from a place of pain. Sometimes it's heartache. I think some of the coolest things I've done were when, you might exit a relationship or a tough challenge in your life. And then for me personally, I want to get out there and take over the world. I just want to reclaim that power and take all that out. It's just sometimes often those are little blessings, those opportunities when you're coming from a hurt place. And for me, this is just kind of how it's like a therapist to me. This is how I square all my thoughts and get even.
Right. It's an artist.
I take it out on them. So.
Yeah. Meryl Streep one time said, like, take your pain and turn it into art.
That's it.
And it's just like, that's what you're doing.
I think a lot of people do that. Certainly, I think a lot of artists do that. 100%. I think it can come from a place of pain, and often this is their way of working it out.
And the greatest stuff, I guess, comes out of that too.
Oh man, yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing this development of this movie that you're creating.
It's a love story. It's called Promise.
The Promise.
Yeah. I play the lead character in it as well. My character gets shot down in an American fighter jet, ends up in the South Pacific, kind of stranded behind enemy lines, and he's fighting to get back to his one true love who's waiting for him. So it's a little bit of a love story in a war setting. It's a great story. I'm excited for it.
I'm excited for it. So everybody listening to this will have to check out. Where can people find you? Where can people, if they want to connect with you further, find you? So
my name on Instagram, the handle is Chris W. Connell. I have a website too, chriswconnell.com.
Yes, and we'll check out the movie when it comes out. I'll put the release of it so everyone can watch it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it was nice talking to you.
Great catching up with you. I'm so excited for you, by the way.
Thank you.
Here's to you in this great medium that you've created for yourself. I think it's really wonderful, and it's a time that we need voices like this and ideas like you're sharing, and I think it's just absolutely awesome. I'm thrilled to be here. Look, anything's possible if you want it bad enough. Anything. You've just got to be brave enough to take that vision, turn it into bold action, be willing to accept rejection is part of the journey. That's natural. Okay. But if your purpose is great enough and you're willing to fight for it and be consistent, to never give up, to know that your greatest version of yourself is just around the corner. And then, as I like to famously say too, everything lies on the other side of fear. Then guess what? You can have it in any way you want it. It's all there for the taking. You can start at any age, at any time, during any period in your life. Everything great is just around the corner if you believe that it's there. So swing the bat, swing for a home run, because you might just hit it.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening to the Extraordinary Living Podcast. For show notes for this episode and all past episodes, head over to JackieSenatori.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Until then, take care and be well.